Welcome back, everyone, to the final part of our MVVM series with Provider. It's been quite a journey so far, isn't it? So please do comment and give your valuable feedback in the comment section. Um, so your comments and your feedbacks and your suggestions motivates me to create more tutorials on Flutter. So, in the previous videos, we have covered a lot from creating custom exceptions, handling API responses, designing a beautiful login screen with validations, to managing user sessions and storing tokens in our local storage using shared preferences. And today, in the last video of our series, we will be diving into the exciting world of fetching data from a movies API and displaying it on our screen. We will be using the provider architecture to make it all come together. So let's get started. So for fetching the data, we need to take the response, and based on that response we need to create our models, Dart model. So where to get the uh, API response? So we will be mm, using a endpoint of episode.com and API, and taking this response um, and convert this response into a Dart model. So I will be providing this API or endpoint in the description below, so you can use it. So let's just copy this, select all, copy this, and just go to your browser and just search on Google JSON to Dart, and the very first website, just click on that and open it, and you will see JSON to Dart converter. So just paste your response here and give a class name. In my case, I am giving movies list model, and just click on generate Dart and your model will be generated. So just copy uh, it from here and just go to your model directory and create a new class for movies list model.dart, and just paste the code which you have copied from uh, this JSON to Dart converter, and you are done with creating your model. So now we have created our model, and now we will be repeating our whole steps which we have done for our auth view model. So let's just create our repository for our home screen. So we are going to show all the data into our home screen. So we will be creating a repository for our home screen and a view model for our home screen too. So let's just create a repository class which will be home repository dart, and I will be just creating a class name home repository, and here I will be just doing the same. So whatever I have done for my auth repo, and I will be just copying these codes and just paste it into my home repository class, and I will be just importing all the packages. So whatever packages we are using, I will be just importing all the pages. So now I will be just changing the name to fetch movies list, and in the get response we do not need to pass any kind of data, so I will be just removing that, and here you go. Now let's just call the get happier response uh, method. Here you go. Now the error is also removed, and now let's just go and create our movies uh, endpoint URL. So I will be just going to my app URL class, and here I have already created my URL. So uh, this is the movie list base URL, which will be our base URL, and this will be our movies list API endpoint URL. So when we concatenate both of them, we will add this movie API. So we will be getting the movies information from this endpoint. So I will be providing this uh, URL in the description box. So as I have just created my URL, so I will be just calling it, which is movie list API endpoint URL. So here you go, I am done with creating the home repository. uh, these base API services and network API services, I have already explained uh, all of them in the previous video lecture. If you have not watched that yet, please go and watch that first, because this video uh, is based on that video. So I have already explained these in uh, the last video lecture. So here I am not going to explain these again. So please go and watch the previous video lecture. So here I am done with creating home repository. So now I will be creating my home view model in my model view directory. So here I will be just creating home view model dot, and I will be creating a class which will be home view model with change notifier. So I will be using this with my home screen and connecting and getting the data from this class, and I will be using the provider package with this class to get the uh, API or the responses from home screen. So that is why we are using change notifier here. So now we will be just creating our repo here. So let's just create it, which will be final my repo. My repo is equal to home repository. So we will be connecting home repository with the home view model, and here I will be just uh, creating a function and calling the fetch API model of home repository class to connect both of them, and to use the functions in our home screen to get the responses. So let's just create a future function of type void and name the movie movie list. Here you go. As you know, this is a future function, so we will be using the async keyword for that. Async, and here you go. Now in this class we will be calling our home repository method which we have just created. So let's call it my repo dot fetch API. So now we will just check if the API is done, then do something. So here I will be just doing this, and if uh, some kind of error comes, also we will be handling that error. So here you go. Now we are done with this, and we will be sending some kind of value here on the basis of API responses. So in the very first video, uh, if you remember that we just created some responses, and status. On that basis, we will check if the API condition or API status is loading, do something, or if API status is completed, then send some data. So we will be getting this data and showing them on the screen. And again, if the API status is on error, some error occurred, so just show the error message on the screen. So on this API response basis or API response status, we will be just implementing our view model, home view model. So have API's page, and we will just send the value to the API response. So for that reason, I will be creating and initializing my API response, API response, and I will be just so what kind of data we are returning. So the type of the response should be our model uh, class we have just created for our uh, model, uh, this class. So the type of this API response should be of our model class. So here I will be just creating a variable with the movie name, MVVM list, and in the initial when the app starts, so the API response, the movie list should be initialized with loading. So we will just do that API response dot loading. So when the app starts, this function, when this function is called, uh, the API response uh, will be set to loading. So here we are done, and now I will be just creating a function. So when um, the API is done and completed, so it should also send some data and should notify the screen to update. So here I will be just creating a function set movie list. So set movie status will be better. So now here I will be just creating a function which will set the status of our API response when the API is completed. So it will be the API type of API response in our model which we have just created. API response, and the type of the which we have a model class which is movies list model, and the variable will be response, and here we are done. And now we will just make this movie list to our response. Whatever data comes in this response, it will be stored in our movie list variable, which is the type of our movie list model response. Yeah, and I will be just calling notifier listener. So when the data is changed, it should notify the screen and rebuild the screen, so the changes will be shown on our screen. So now here, when the data is fetched and API is completed with fetching the data, so we will be just sending the response status to completed. So now I have just created a class for that. So I will be just sending this value, and here we are done. When the API is done fetching the whole things, and it will send the status and some kind of data to our API response. So here I will be just setting the to loading initially, which will be loading, and if in some kind of error occurs, we will set the status on error. So API response, which will be error, and show this error message whatever error comes. So we will be just sending that error, which will be to string, and here you go. We are done with implementing our view model, and we will be using this in our home screen, and we will be handling our fetching the data and showing on the screen. So for that we will be just going to our home screen, and in the home screen uh, we are already using this logout button, but now we will be just implementing the body part of our application. So in the body I will be using our change notifier provider. So um, I am not creating and heading it into my main.dart because I will be using a instance in that class. So on the API response status, on the base of API response status, the uh, instance should be changed. This is necessary that um, all the instance or the home screen instance, home view model instance should be rebuilt according to the init state we are using it. So let's just create it, so it will be much clearer for you guys to understand. So I will be just creating my home view model instance here, which will be home view model, and I am done. And I will be calling my uh, fetch API function in the init state, which is fetch movies list, and here you go. Now I will be using change notifier provider in the same class, so I will be just using this instance. So it will be just notified if the API response is changed according to change notifier. So when I create this uh, in the main.dart, so there will be two instances of home view model, so there will be some kind of conflict, so the UI does not change accordingly. So that is the reason I will be using my change um, provider in the home screen class. So I will be using change provider can notify your provider here. So I will be just creating the instance of this instance. So I have already created. So this will just notify the screen accordingly if the API response um, is changed to loading into completed or into error. The UI will be refreshed automatically according to the API response. So here on the child, I will be using the consumer widget of our provider package, and I will be just creating it here. And on the basis, so let's see where we are getting the error. Yeah, so we will be checking the status here. So we will be just using our switch statement to check the status. If the status uh, is loading, do something. If the status is completed, do something. So let's just do that. So I will be using switch, switch. So now have the video dot. So first we need to provide the class to the consumer, which is home view model. And now let's just value movie list dot status. And here now we will just define our cases, and we will just import our status class, status dot loading. If status is loading, return uh, a circular um, which shows the screen is on our loading state. Return const circular progress indicator. Yeah, so I will be just defining my default to remove the error first. If ALT, if AULT, yeah, just return a text which will be nothing to show. Yeah, and here you go, we have just removed the error by defining our default function. So I will be using my next case, which will be a status dot on error. When the status is error, return some kind of error messages. So here I will be just text value dot movie list dot the message to string, whatever error message comes on the value. So just show that error message on our screen. Yeah, so let's now just implement our, if the case status is completed, then do something. So if the status is completed, we will be just returning a list view builder. So as we know that our API is a list, so here you go in the model is, so it is a list. So that is why we will be using and showing our data on our own screen in a form of a list. So let's just return a list to enter if the status is completed. Return list view builder, and a builder, item builder requires a context and a index. And so here we will be just returning a card to show our data mm, on a card, so the display should look good. So a card and child list view, oh sorry, list style. So here we are just done, I guess. And on the basis of our length, we will be just um, creating a list of length whatever data we are getting from. So let's just create it. Where is the item builder? Yeah, here you go. So we have item count. So the item count will be value. The item count will be value dot list, value dot movie list dot data dot TV shows dot length. Yeah, so we will be just adding the exclamation marks to check the null safety, and I will be just refreshing the screen. So we will be getting our cards on the screen. So I will be just hot restarting it. Let's just see what happens. So we are getting some kind of error here. The map string dynamic is not subtype of the movie list model. So yeah, let's just go to our model class here, and we will be just doing this dynamic. Let's see if it solves our error or not. Again I will be just restarting it. The type map string is not subtype of type movies model list. Yeah, so what is the issue? From JSON. Yeah, yeah. Type string is not a subtype of model list. Yeah, let's just see. Yeah, we are doing some kind of error, I guess. Let's just check our code. So the yeah, just check the repository class here. Yeah, yeah, we are just returning our response. So this is not a type of our movie list model. So here we will be just move, which will be from JSON, and here we will be just returning our response. Yeah, now it will be a type of our movie list model. So here I will be just restarting it again, and now let's see if the error will be gone or not. So yeah, see, now our error is gone. So let's just fetch our data from our API. So here in the list style we will be using the title part to show the movie name here, which will be the text widget, which will be value dot movie list dot data dot this list, and we will be adding the index, and here I will be just um, calling the name, which will be to string, and here we are done. We will be just checking the null safety, and here you go, we are done with fetching the movie name from our API. So here you go, this is the movie name coming from our API. So now I will be just copying and pasting this, and just change the to subtitle, and here I will just show the date, which will be the start date, and yeah, now I will be just showing the poster on the leading part of our list style. So here you go, which is lead, and image dot network, and which will be value dot movie list dot data dot the list, which is our TV show. So I will be just using the image thumbnail path, so which will be to string, and here you go, we are done. See, all the images are being fetched from our API, and we are getting our API. So I will be wrapping all the things up. So firstly we have just created our model. On the basis of this model we are getting the data from our uh, endpoint URL or API. So we need to create the model from the responses of our API, so we can get the response by using the postman, or you can simply just uh, type it on the uh, a browser, so you will be just getting this response. So use some kind of extension JSON viewer or uh, online JSON viewer, so you can get this response from there, or you can use the postman software, so you can easily get the responses. So we will be just copying this response and just pasting this response in this website, uh, and we will be just getting our model here, and we will just paste our model here. So we are done, we will be done with our model, and again we will be just creating our repository of home repository. So here we will be just calling our get API response from a network API services. In that class we have defined all the things here, how the data is being parsed and how we are handling the error. If error status code is 200, then just decode it and return the response JSON. So in the view model we have just created an the instance of our home repository to call the home repository function or method in our home view model. So these all are being connected, and these classes are being called in one another classes. So this is what the beauty of MVVM model. So how simply we have just implemented uh, the API response, and we have done. So there you have it. In this final part of our MVVM series with provider, we have successfully fetched data from Movies API and displayed it on our screen. This series has covered a wide range of topics, and I hope you found it helpful in your journey to becoming a Flutter expert. If you have any questions or need further clarification on any topic we have covered, feel free to ask in the comment section below. Thank you for joining us, and happy coding!